In this video, we are going to discuss exercise on chapter 7, which is on biodiversity. So we are going to look at the first part A, multiple choice question. For question number 1, it says, which of the following is in the correct ascending order of taxonomic hierarchy? So when the question asks for ascending order, so we must start with the lowest ranking first. Okay, so the answer would be A. Okay, so basically the order of taxonomic hierarchy from the lowest to the highest ranking, it starts from species, and then genus, family, order, class, and then phylum, and then kingdom. Okay, so above the kingdom we have the 3 domains, which is the domain bacteria, eukarya, and archaea. Okay, so for question number 2, kingdom of fungi and animalia both shares the following characteristics except. So the answer would be B. Okay, so except. Okay, so both fungi and animalia are not unicellular or multicellular organism. Okay, basically for fungi they are multicellular. Okay, fungi only multicellular, and as for animalia they are also multicellular. Okay, so that the answer will be B. For fungi, if we look at the choice of answer, cannot synthesize their own food, is correct. Okay, for fungi they are saprophytic, parasitic, and sometimes symbiotic. And as for animalia, most of the animalia are animals, okay, that consume food, okay, either from producers or from other organisms. And for choices of number C, have nucleus separated from the cytoplasm. So this one is also correct. Okay, so because they are eukaryotes. So obviously eukaryotes have membrane-bound organelle, which includes the nucleus. D is also correct, which is to store carbohydrates in the form of glycogen. Okay, so for question number 3, which of the following is the important contribution of Carolus Linnaeus to the field of taxonomy? The answer would be C. So he invents the binomial nomenclature system, which is every organism will have a 2-part scientific name. Okay, so it consists of the genus and also the specific epithets names, such as for example for human is Homo sapien. Okay, Homo sapien. So if this scientific name were to be written handwritten, so it must be underlined. Okay, usually it has to be underlined separately. If the scientific name were to be typed, so it should be in italic form. Okay, so it goes to question number 4. Well, the correct way to write the scientific name of a dog would be, the answer would be, the most correct way is B. Okay, so if this were to be typed, it should be in italic form. Okay, it should be in italic form. If this were to be handwritten, it's supposed to be underlined, but it is preferable to separate, okay, the underline between the 2 names. Okay, so this should be the genus name, and this is the specific epithet. Okay, part of the scientific name. Question number 5. How is the scientific name for Eastern African land snail, which is Archatina flica, abbreviated? Okay, so when you are writing a scientific name in an article, the first time that you mention the scientific name, you should write it in full. Okay, but the next and subsequent time that you mention the scientific name, you can abbreviate the scientific name. Okay, so the way that you abbreviate the scientific name is that the genus name, you can just write its initial, okay, which is A, and then a full stop, and then the second epithet name, Fulica. Okay, so the answer will be B. Okay, so this is if in the italic form, if you were to type the scientific name. If you were to handwritten, you should underline the scientific name separately. So question number 6, which of the following is not the characteristics of an organism under the domain Archaea? Okay, so Archaea, they are basically prokaryotes. So the answer C. Okay, describe the characteristics of Archaea, organism in the domain Archaea. So C is not the answer because the question asks for not the characteristics. Okay. So, because they are prokaryotes, obviously they are unicellular and they are microscopic. So the answer would be D. Okay, cell wall composed of peptidoglycan. So this describes the character of organism under the domain bacteria. Okay, so for organism under the domain Archaea, basically the cell wall are composed of different polysaccharides and also proteins. Okay, and with no peptidoglycan in the cell wall. So many Archaea cell wall are made up of polysaccharides, pseudomurine. Okay. Question number 7. Which of the following adaptation does not enable reptiles to successfully colonize terrestrial habitats? So the answer would be A. Basically, for question number 7, it is not in your syllabus of chapter 7. Okay, so this is more on chapter uh, homeostasis, okay, which we are going to learn in semester 2. Okay, so you can just ignore this question, but the answer will be A. Okay, so reptiles is an ectothermic organism, so ectothermic it should be. Okay, which is the temperature of the body temperature of the reptiles is dependent on its environment. Okay, it is influenced by the environment. So question number 8, fungi are not classified as plants because obviously they do not have chlorophyll. So it means that fungi will not be able to carry out photosynthesis. They are organisms that are saprophytic or parasitic, or they can also be symbiotic. So fungi cannot produce their own food. They are consumers. Question 9. The tropical rainforest in Malaysia is an example of a complex ecosystem. Unfortunately, the forest is threatened by activities such as logging, which damages the ecosystem and causes extinction of species. So the question is, which of the following steps could be applied to overcome the problem? So we are going to look at the choices, which is number 1, reduce logging wastage. So this one is correct. Okay, so we should reduce logging wastage by recycling, such as for example papers. Okay, so the answer 1, the choice for number 1 is correct. Okay, so the second choice, replanting mangrove trees, is not, because the question asks on the rainforest. Okay, tropical rainforest. So B is not. So B is on mangrove. Okay, so basically Malaysia will have several different types of ecosystem. For example, we have the tropical rainforest, we have the mangrove, for example, and we also have peat swamp, and also the coral reef, and also the montane. Okay, so those are the different types of ecosystem that are found in Malaysia. But the question asks on tropical rainforest. The answer number 2 is not correct. Okay, so number 3, stop discarding effluents into the rivers. This one is also not correct, because this one involves pollutions of the river. Okay, water pollution. And then number 4, reassessing activities of converting forests into agricultural areas. So basically, most forest areas are basically converted into agricultural areas. Okay, for example, take down forests and convert it into palm oil plantation. Okay, so we should reduce converting our rainforest into agricultural areas. Okay, so the answer should be C. Okay, 1 and 4. Question 10. which of the following is an in situ conservation? So first you will need to understand the definition for in situ conservation. Basically, in situ conservation involves protecting and preserving wildlife or threatened or endangered species in its natural habitat or in its natural environment. Okay, so the answer A is totally not correct because zoos are man-made. Okay, uh, if we look at the choice for D, it is also not correct for botanical gardens because they are man-made also. Okay, you preserve plant species, okay, in these botanical gardens. Okay, so D is not correct. For question number 10, the answer can be both B and also C. Okay, sanctuaries and also national parks. We in Malaysia, we have, for example, the Taman Negara National Park in Pahang. We also have Kinabalu Park, and also there is Tengku Abdul Rahman National Park. Okay, example of sanctuaries that are found in Malaysia, for example, they are we have the Kuala Gula Bird Sanctuary in Perak. Okay, so there you can observe many threatened or endangered species of water bird species. Okay, water bird species such as, for example, the threatened milk stork. Okay, that can be found in the Kuala Gula Bird Sanctuary. So there are also other sanctuaries such as, for example, the Kuala Ganda Elephant Sanctuary in Pahang. Okay, so those are example of sanctuaries and national parks which are considered as in situ conservation.